I just Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. Well, can you supplement your way out of a bad diet? And that's the question for the day. And frankly, I don't think you can. I think that it actually creates real problems in other different ways. Look, most of the vitamins that we've discovered were because of very specific health problems. Vitamin C was the remedy that we discovered that vitamin because of scurvy. Sailors that were sort of in the northern latitudes that were eating a high carb diet, believe it or not, that's what they were eating, developed a very serious disease called scurvy. And what they found is by supplementing their diet with a little bit of lime, they could overcome it. They figured it out that the problem was the lack of vitamin C, and voila, there became the big supplement. And Western people, being what they are, immediately tried to say, okay, vitamin C is this absolutely essential vitamin that we need to get in high quantities. We started putting in pills and we started cramming them down our throats, not realizing that it created other problems. Because frankly, what a supplement is, when you really think about it, is it's the ultimate form of an ultra-processed food. You're synthesizing something down to one part, but you're ignoring what nature puts together with food. When you get, when you're eating cold water fish, yes, you're getting the vitamin D from like cod liver oil and stuff like that, which is what we're hoping for, but we're getting a host of other things, and it allows the body to utilize it effectively. Vitamin D is not all that great without vitamin K2, and they work together and they help get calcium and minerals into the bones, and it does a host of other things. They seem to work together synergistically. And if you're just getting pure vitamin D, you're not getting the full effect. We found this out with women back during the 70s and 80s when they started noticing that there's a real problem with soft bones, that osteoporosis was becoming this big major catastrophe. So what do doctors do? Well, bones are made of calcium, so let's give people more calcium. The problem is you give somebody too much calcium in the form of a supplement. Where does it go? Well, mainly in the arteries. And you don't want calcification in your arteries. That's a problem. It wasn't going to the bones because there wasn't the vitamin K2 to go along with it. So just taking a supplement by itself can create problems that we may not be fully aware of. You're taking an ultra-processed food, you're synthesizing something down to a specific thing, and unless you've got a particular deficiency that you're trying to correct, you frankly don't know if what you're getting is making a difference or not. And that's part of the problem. See, back in the 80s, there was Congress in their presumed wisdom passed a thing that allowed people to get any type of supplement they wanted without FDA approval. And as a result, you don't know exactly what you're purchasing. And there's a lot of studies out there that keep showing that people buy things thinking, for instance, that there's melatonin in it, and the amount of melatonin varies wildly from product to product. There's no quality control. A very scary study came out on fish oils that showed that nearly 2/3 of the ones they were tested off the shelves were rancid. And there's some serious problems with rancid fish oil. There's a lot of negative health effects. It is a poison to your system, so you don't want it. So taking fish oil supplements, there's a 2/3 chance that what you're getting is rancid, and you really don't know until you start showing symptoms of being sick. So therein lies the problem. It's better to stay away from supplements and stay more in tune with eating real food. Now, how do you know what you need? And this is an interesting concept. Dr. Claire Davis, back in the 1930s, worked a lot with inner city kids in New York, many of whom had serious health problems. And she was trying to figure out if people could these kids could solve their own health problems by being allowed to self-select food. And her team would bring trays of a whole host of different foods out to the kids and see what they would naturally choose. And, she trained her nurses, do not approve when a kid eats certain things and don't disapprove if they didn't. And what was interesting was kids naturally chose things that helped their bodies out. She gave one really interesting case report where this young man had a case of rickets, soft bones. And what she knew he needed was cod liver oil. But what was interesting was he self-selected it. As soon as he saw that cod liver oil, his brain intuitively knew that that's what he needed, and he took it for almost 2 months. And all of a sudden, his rickets got better. He didn't have the soft bone problem anymore, and he wouldn't touch it after that. And I think that's how we're designed to work. Our bodies are really amazingly intuitive. There's a lot of species out there that, we think that cows, all they eat is grass. Well, that's not true. They eat different varieties of grass. They go for different plants in their particular palates. If they have free range, if they can choose between different plants, they're going to go for certain plants. Goats are the same way. A lot of critters intuitively eat certain things at certain times because their body needs it. Anybody who's had a kid knows that our kids will go through phases where they will just, for instance, just want to eat tomatoes all the time. That's all they want. They will eat tomatoes morning for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And for the life of me, I don't know why. But all of a sudden one day, it ends. They just don't need them anymore. And I think when you're not eating a processed food diet and you become intuitively aware of what your body needs, you're going to find yourself being drawn to certain things. I, for a while, was eating sardines at least 3 or 4 times a week. Why? I don't know. But I just felt this urge for them. And I don't know if there was a particular deficiency that I needed to overcome at that particular time, but I wanted them. And it seems to be stronger in the early spring when my natural level of vitamin D is going to be at its lowest. And one of the things that's in sardines is a lot of vitamin D, and it's easily synthesized, so my body may have been intuitively pulling me in that direction during that particular time of the year. But after this long summer and I got lots of sun, I don't feel the need to eat sardines. Every now and then I'll try to pick up a can and it just doesn't look appetizing to me. Why? I don't know, but I trust my intuition. So as you get more and more metabolically healthy, I think you'll find that you can make better intuitive decisions and your body will know when it needs certain foods. I can't guarantee that. I'm not sure the science, is all there, but it kind of makes intuitive sense to me because I'm basing this on my own experience and the work of Dr. Davis. And this goes back a long time, and I think it actually kind of makes sense. Now, I do, for the sake of full disclosure, do supplement with a couple of things. One of them is magnesium. One of the things that I've noticed is I used to get leg cramps, and they would occur once or maybe twice a month, particularly in my calves. And there was no rhyme or reason to it. They would just appear. And I was reading a book from Dr. William Davis about magnesium supplementation, that we have a very low level of it. One of the symptoms of having low levels of magnesium are leg cramps. So I started making my own. Basically putting a little milk of magnesia and carbonated water, making magnesium carbonate, which is very much like what you would get if you were living in nature and you were drinking out of a stream, which was coming off of soil and rock where there's naturally occurring minerals. So I'm probably intuitively pulling in enough magnesium. And what's interesting is since the 2 years I've done it, I haven't had any leg cramps. So I'm going to say, hey, problem solved, and that worked. The other one that I take is vitamin D3 and calcium, vitamin K2 supplement during the winter months. I usually start that in October because why? I'm getting sun during the summer. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. I eat butter and other things that have K2 in it, but during the winter months, you're not getting much. Now, your body stores vitamin D. Your body knows what it's doing. It stores quite a bit of it, and because it's fat soluble, you utilize it throughout the winter. But if you notice, there seems to be this big rise in respiratory viruses because our immune systems are weakest when, not during the summer, but wintertime, particularly late December through March, when our vitamin D levels are naturally at their lowest levels. One of the things I found out or really started studying during the pandemic was what was going on in northern Italy, where they have very low levels of vitamin D, and they were probably one of the hardest hit areas during the pandemic. They were very susceptible to it. And that got me studying about vitamin D, how it works with the immune system, how it works with vitamin K2. And because of those things, I kind of thought, I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to try to keep my vitamin D level during the winter months higher, using a supplement. Now, is that the most dangerous thing in the world? I don't think so, but I think it's relatively cheap insurance, and I'm willing to take that risk with my health because I think it's worth having the extra vitamin D. But the question is, can you really how much can you increase your vitamin D level through just supplementing it? And while I think it's important, I don't think you can do too much with it. I think there's a limit to how much vitamin D you can get. And the reason why I say that is because your vitamin D level is almost a direct marker of your overall metabolic health. People that have poor metabolic health almost always have low vitamin D levels. They go hand in hand. And I don't think, I could out supplement if my metabolic health still stank. If I had some of the markers of poor metabolic health, I don't think just taking a vitamin D3 supplement along with some K2 would make much of a difference. But if you're metabolically healthy, can throwing in a little extra increase your vitamin D level, keep it into a very high optimal range? I don't know. We'll find out. But that's how I'm going to place my bet. But I'm not trying to get myself out of a low vitamin D level by just supplementing away. When I do my last blood test, my vitamin D level runs somewhere in the high 80s, which is really darn good. You want it somewhere above 60 to 100 in that range. So I'm doing, I think, pretty darn well with it. And we'll see how the supplement during the winter months works as far as keeping that level high, because I get my blood work done. I'm going to do it again at the end of February when it should be at about its lowest point. So we'll see how that experiment goes. But I'm trying to warn you about, if you think you can out supplement a bad diet and poor health, I think you're on a fool's errand. All you're doing is creating really very expensive pee. You can't pull things out of isolation using ultra-processed food and change your health. You've got to do that, and that's a little bit more old-fashioned. Mostly eating meat, exercising, and getting good sleep. Those are the three pillars of health. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I hope you like this message. If you do, please hit the like and subscribe button. I try to put out a new message a couple times a week. I will talk to you soon.